Disclaimer. The video serves informational and entertainment purpose only. The content is considered speculative and should not be treated as confirmed fact. We encourage you to conduct your research and form your conclusion.
Where does Ironheart fit in?
First thing that I can say is in Wakanda Forever, we meet her in the midst of her MIT career, which isn't the most traditional. And when we meet Riri Williams, she is hustling these students a little extra cash on the side so that she can focus on what she's actually interested in, which is building this suit and working on a couple other things. Riri kind of learns that this is more than just tinkering she's doing on the side. Potential, her brilliance, the things that interest her, and her passion projects actually could and do have larger implications for the world and the universe around her.
Ironheart is dead, and Marvel didn't even bother to show up to the funeral. No trailers, no press tour, no premiere night glamour, just a silent upload to Disney+, like someone tossing a broken toy in the trash when no one's looking. For a brand that once lit up the entire planet with every release, this was chilling. There was no noise, no outrage, not even a proper backlash. Because here's the thing, hate still means you care. But this was apathy. Marvel didn't just launch a flop, they launched a ghost. And the silence? It was louder than any protest, louder than any critic, louder than any fan screaming into the void. This wasn't just another Marvel misstep. This was a quiet, devastating collapse. A character that was forced into the spotlight, rejected in the comics, now slipping into the void with zero impact. Not even the most loyal MCU diehards showed up. Ironheart's release felt less like a premiere and more like an obligation. Like Marvel hit upload and prayed nobody would notice. And the wildest part? No one did. Not the fans. Not the trades. Not even the haters. This wasn't the next generation of Iron Man. It was the quiet burial of a broken phase. And if this is the direction Disney's heading, then the MCU might already be 6 feet under. But what exactly went wrong? Why did Marvel bury its own creation? Let's dig deeper. Because the real story? It's even more embarrassing than you think. You know a show is in trouble when the studio that made it pretends it doesn't exist. Ironheart wasn't released. It was dumped. No posters, no billboards, no midnight hype, not even a proper trailer rollout. Marvel, the same company that turned literal ants into box office kings, just pressed publish and walked away. You don't need a press release to understand the message. They knew it was bad, because this wasn't just another Disney Plus drop. This was a show they hid from their own audience. And here's the insane part. Ironheart sat in a corporate vault for over 2 years. Reshot, rewritten, re-edited, over and over, like they were trying to fix a car with no engine. And when it finally limped across the finish line, nobody showed up. Not even the die-hard MCU fans. You check the charts? It didn't trend. It didn't move numbers. It didn't even ripple the water. The Nielsen ratings? Silent. Social media? Barely a whisper. This wasn't just a flop. It was a ghost release. Because when a Marvel series premieres and the world shrugs, that's not failure. That's irrelevance. And the scariest part? Even Marvel knows it. They didn't push a season 2. They didn't tease a crossover. They didn't even pretend to care. Because Ironheart wasn't built to soar. It was launched to disappear. And Marvel? They just wanted it gone. But why would $1 billion studio kill its own show? Keep watching. Because the next twist? It's not just about a failed series. It's about an identity war they can't control. Let's be real. No one, and I mean no one, was begging for Ironheart. Not the fans. Not the comic readers. Not even the people who liked her in Wakanda Forever. This wasn't a demand. It was a corporate decision. A box-checking, brand extension, diversity on paper strategy. That skipped past beloved characters like Blade, Luke Cage, or even War Machine, just to push someone who hadn't earned her place yet. Riri Williams didn't rise through fan love. She was inserted, dropped into the MCU like a puzzle piece from a different game entirely, one that didn't fit and never would. Created in 2016, she was instantly rejected by comic fans. Too forced, too flat, no arc, no legacy, no emotional weight. But Marvel said, push her anyway. And now they're shocked that audiences didn't line up? This isn't backlash. This is rejection. The kind that comes when studios confuse representation with substitution. You can't just hand someone Iron Man's tech, slap the word genius on her, and expect people to fall in love, especially when her character feels more like a TikTok trend than a living, breathing hero. The fans didn't ask for Riri Williams. They asked for story. They asked for mythology. They asked for earned moments. And what did they get? DoorDash deliveries to Superhero HQ and one-liners with zero soul. So now the audience is asking Marvel a different question. Why do you keep giving us what we never wanted, while ignoring the characters we've loved for decades? And trust me, that question only gets louder from here. Because next we're diving into the backstage chaos Marvel didn't want you to see. Let's talk about the writing. Because if Ironheart had any shot at survival, the script blew it into oblivion. This wasn't just a bad story. It was a creative black hole, sucking the life, charm, and logic out of everything it touched. Riri Williams was supposed to be a prodigy, a tech genius, a future Avenger. But what did we get instead? A moody teen ordering DoorDash to a superhero base during a global threat, like she's in some Netflix sitcom instead of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What happened to stakes? To scale? To writing that respects its characters and audience? Every scene felt like it was written in a Discord server, by people more concerned with sounding relatable than telling a good story. Hashtag humor, empty banter, dialogue that plays like a parody of Gen Z, not an authentic portrayal. And the plot? Forget it. Reshoots, rewrites, and studio interference turned what could have been an origin story into a Frankenstein of half-baked scenes stitched together with duct tape and denial. No clear arc, no emotional payoff, just noise. And the real kicker? Marvel knew this was broken. They had over 2 years to fix it, and instead, they just kept slapping on filters hoping no one would notice the cracks. But we did notice. Because when the writing's empty, the hype fades fast. And what's left? A show nobody talks about, because there's simply nothing to say. But behind the silence, Marvel is panicking. And in the next section, we'll reveal just how deep that desperation really goes. You know what's scarier than bad reviews? Silence. And that's exactly what happened with Ironheart. No trending hashtags, no viral debates, no angry think pieces lighting up Twitter. Just quiet. And that silence? It was deafening. Because when fans hate something, at least they're still engaged. They're talking, arguing, me-meing. But when they don't even acknowledge your show dropped, that's when you know it's over. Ironheart didn't just flop. It vanished. No Nielsen numbers, no Disney Plus bragging rights, not even a pity promo from Marvel's official channels. It's like they were embarrassed to admit it even happened. And here's the wild part. Disney, the same studio that throws parades for popcorn sales, quietly shelved this one. No billboards, no premieres, no press blitz, just a hushed release, like they were hoping no one would notice. And honestly, most people didn't. It slipped past fans, media, even the die-hard MCU crowd, like a ghost episode that barely existed. Compare that to the chaos around shows like The Acolyte or She-Hulk, shows that sparked controversy, backlash, even boycotts. Ironheart couldn't even do that. And that kind of apathy? It's deadlier than any review bomb, because it doesn't just kill a show, it kills the brand. Marvel didn't just lose a battle here, they lost the audience's interest. And once that's gone, it's almost impossible to earn back. But behind the scenes, that silence wasn't peace. It was panic. Because next, Marvel's spinning harder than ever to explain the unexplainable. Let's be real for a second. Ironheart didn't feel like a passion project. It felt like a corporate checkbox, ticked off by executives chasing optics instead of impact. And that's not just sad, it's insulting. Because representation, ? It matters. It matters so much, but only when it's done with heart, not when it's shoved in like a DEI trophy on a boardroom slide. Marvel had dozens of legendary characters of color. Blade, Storm, Blue Marvel, War Machine, Bishop, all with rich histories, deep fan bases, and stories ready to explode on screen. But instead, they fast-tracked Riri Williams, a character barely a decade old, rejected by comic fans, thrown into the MCU like glitter on a broken toy. Why? Because she fit the current brand initiative. It wasn't about storytelling, it was about strategy. And the fans? They saw right through it. Because when you create a show just to check a box, you don't create a legacy. You create resentment. And it hurts everyone involved. The actors, the fans, the culture. Ironheart had the potential to be something powerful. A young black genius stepping into Tony Stark's shadow? That could have been iconic. But instead of giving her a real arc, they gave her DoorDash jokes and TikTok slang. They didn't write a character dash. They wrote a demographic. And that's the problem. Representation without respect isn't progress. It's pandering. And Marvel just learned the hard way that audiences aren't buying it anymore. But the fallout from that mistake? It was just beginning. Here's the twist no one saw coming. While Marvel's top brass were busy hiding behind PR statements and playing the blame game, the actors? They stepped up. With more class than the entire Disney boardroom combined. Let's talk about Anthony Ramos, the man behind the hood. A villain with actual depth in the comics. Turned into a magic-wielding hoodie cameo. He didn't lash out, didn't point fingers, didn't post a 5-minute Instagram rant calling fans toxic. Nope, he said, calmly. At least they're talking about it. If they ain't, then I'd be worried. That is what professionalism looks like. Dominique Thorne, too, thrown into the fire with a script that did her zero favors. No meaningful arc, no real development, just hashtags and monologues that sounded like they came from a Zoomer subreddit. But did she melt down on Twitter? Number. She handled it with grace, quietly promoting the show, answering tough questions, staying grounded. Compare that to other Disney stars who, well, let's just say they weaponized outrage as a shield against criticism. We've seen it before. The moment a show flops, out come the buzzwords, racist, sexist, fanboys. But Ramos and Thorne, they took the high road. And, ironically, that quiet strength spoke louder than anything Marvel's execs tried to spin. Because in the middle of all this noise, all this failure, the actors were the only ones who didn't pretend. They knew, and they still showed up, with respect, with integrity, with the kind of energy Marvel used to be known for. Too bad the boardroom forgot what that looks like. So now the question becomes, where does Marvel go from here? Because after Ironheart, the Marvels, She-Hulk, and everything in between, even the most loyal fans are asking, is this still the same MCU we fell in love with? And Marvel? They've got a plan. A risky one. It's called Secret Wars. A multiverse showdown. A universe-ending climax. A last chance Hail Mary to wipe the slate clean. Rumors are flying that Marvel will use Secret Wars to do a soft reboot of the entire MCU. New Iron Man, new Cap, new Panther, new everything. And maybe that's what they need. A full reset. A new timeline where all these broken stories and forced spin-offs get erased like a bad dream. But here's the catch. Reboot or not, you still need trust. You still need the audience to believe, to care again. Because after a string of flops and fan fatigue, the MCU doesn't just need a new story. It needs a soul transplant. Secret Wars could be their shot at redemption. An opportunity to bring back the legends, reintroduce the X-Men, and maybe, just maybe, remind us why we fell in love with this universe in the first place. But if they mess this up, if Secret Wars becomes another CGI-smeared mess stuffed with cameos and gotcha moments, it won't be a reboot. It'll be a eulogy.
And Ironheart?
It'll be remembered as one of the final nails in the coffin. Let's be honest, Ironheart wasn't just a flop. It was a warning. A massive neon-lit sign flashing in Marvel's face saying, "You've lost your way." Because this wasn't a random misfire. It wasn't a small side project that quietly slipped through the cracks. This was a symbol of everything that's been slowly breaking inside the Marvel machine. Characters pushed before they were ready. Stories driven by agendas instead of emotion. Audiences treated like checklists instead of fans. And Marvel, they thought we wouldn't notice. That they could ride the post-Endgame momentum forever, dropping low-effort spin-offs and still printing billions. But Ironheart proved something they didn't expect. The fan base has evolved. We want more than spectacle. We want connection, substance, mythology. Not just flashy suits and TikTok one-liners. The silence around Ironheart isn't just embarrassing, it's historic. Because in an era where outrage drives headlines and hate trends in seconds, the fact that no one even cared enough to get angry, that's when you know it's over. But here's the silver lining. Maybe this was the punch in the gut Marvel needed. Maybe this is the moment they stop coasting and start listening. Because if they don't, if they keep churning out hollow shows wrapped in buzzwords, they won't just lose the audience. They'll lose the legacy they spent over a decade building. Ironheart wasn't the end, but it better be the wake-up call.
Because next time,
The fans might not just stay silent, they might walk away for good. So now the question everyone's asking, was Ironheart just another stumble? Or the final nail in Marvel's golden coffin? Because let's face it, this wasn't just a bad show. This was a collapse in slow motion. A warning shot disguised as a whisper, echoing across the ruins of a universe that used to mean something.
think about it.
From Iron Man's legendary arc to Endgame's jaw-dropping finale, Marvel was once untouchable. But now, they're dropping content no one asked for, starring characters no one connects with, in shows no one even knows exist. And worst of all, they seem okay with that. They're not fighting for quality. They're not rebuilding trust. They're just hoping we forget. But we won't. Because fans remember. We remember what it felt like when Marvel meant magic, when every trailer gave us goosebumps, when every post-credit scene sparked months of speculation, when the storytelling was personal, not political. So maybe Ironheart isn't the end, but it damn sure feels like a tombstone. One more project tossed on the pile of forgotten spin-offs, while Marvel's once epic empire teeters on the edge. So what happens next? Can Marvel course correct? Will they reclaim their crown?
Or crumble under the weight of their own ego? Only time will tell.
But if they keep ignoring their audience,
Then Ironheart won't just be a failed show.
it'll be the moment everything changed, forever. If you're still here, drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell. Because this story is far from over.